All right, guys, the final week of the NFL season is here, and we have you covered with the top core plays for Week 18. Let's go ahead and get into it. Now, I want to start off with saying that this is Week 18. We don't really know what teams are going to do just yet. I'm recording this on Monday night, so some teams might sit their starters. Some teams might only play their starters a half. We really have no idea. Once we get more clarity, obviously I'll come out with the cash plays videos and other videos and whatnot. We'll be able to give better direction. Okay, so right now, as it sits, I'm kind of playing it safe, if you will, with some of the players. So I will say, like, Kirk Cousins, I do think is going to be in a great bounce back spot. The question is, are they going to play a full half? I would imagine so. I think they still have a long shot to win the first overall seed. And so I would imagine they would still play. Kirk Cousins obviously had a bad game against the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers defense is a good defense. Now he's going against the Chicago Bears, which are going to be a team in which we've been wanting to attack for quite a while. We just attacked them last week with Jared Goff, and Jared Goff went off. So Kirk Cousins going against Chicago. And also, like, you look at Justin Jefferson, who just got shut down. He had a very poor mental game last week. I think Justin Jefferson has a great chance to go off as well. So I do like the idea of playing Kirk Cousins. Don't feel great about it, just given the fact that maybe he only plays 3 quarters or something. I actually don't mind the idea of playing Mike White. The Jets don't have anything to play for, which kind of means that their starters should start and pretty much play the full game. Okay, Mike White is someone that has been throwing the ball a ton. Look at the last 3 weeks. He's played 46, 44, and 57 passing attempts. If we can get 40 plus passing attempts at this price point in a good matchup against Miami, that's going to be appealing to me. And guys, I should mention this, like, these are pro players, these are pro teams, these are pro coaches. Like, if they are playing, they are trying to win. Okay, it's as simple as that. Okay, we don't really have to worry about players not giving full effort and what. Okay, this is what they live their lives for. The biggest issues that we have are teams that actually have something to play for, where playing someone is a risk. So that's actually why I like Mike White at this price tag in that matchup, throwing that ball that many times. That's going to be huge. Just needs to get another touchdown. Can't throw that many picks, can't have that many turnovers. That doesn't help at all. But if he throws a touchdown, it's a much better game. But that's it for quarterbacks. I mean, that's kind of the issue on the slate. So last week, really the biggest difference maker on the slate was the running backs. A lot of the running backs that we were on were a little bit lower owned than they should be. And that could easily be the case again this week. We got to wait and see on some of the news, though. Like Christian McCaffrey, if he were to sit, he's currently questionable. And this is a thing where maybe, why would they risk him getting injured? That's the biggest thing. Okay, sure, if they have something to play for, maybe. But you also don't want to risk your best player getting injured. Okay, so if that happens, then we'd be looking at Jordan Mason, who Jordan Mason has looked really good in small sample size thus far. And obviously, we would get a great matchup going against the Arizona Cardinals. That'd be a very intriguing matchup. CMC is someone that did play about 80% of the snaps last week as well. So if he sits, Jordan Mason could easily be in for like 20 opportunities while playing 80% of the snaps at 5K in a great matchup. So that's something we need to watch for. I'm kind of leaning towards CMC sitting, but we'll have to see. Now, Dalvin Cook, if he plays, could be a good GPP play going against Chicago. I wouldn't consider him a core play, just kind of wanted to bring him up. Kenneth Walker against the Rams is a play that I like a decent amount. Kenneth Walker has been very impressive. Just went off against the Jets, who, they're a pretty good defense. The last 2 games, he's gotten over 20 rushing attempts and was given a target. It's just been impressive. And he's been able to put up 18 and 15 DK points without scoring a touchdown. So if he finally gets a touchdown his way, that'd be intriguing to me as well. Cheap price tag for him. Cheap price tag for 20 rushing attempt. Continuing on that theme, though, we can get Cam Akers at 6.2. Cam Akers has been someone that's been highly productive, and he's kind of been seeing his snaps solidified at about 75%. And if that continues again this week, which it probably should, you never know for sure, but if it does, going to be a great play going against Seattle, a defense that has been poor against the rush, especially lately. Okay, 120 rushing yards last week, 118 rushing yards the previous week. Like, Cam Akers has been impressive, and honestly, he needed to. He went from being like terrible to being like kind of eye-poppingly good all in the same season, which is very strange. It could just be one of those situations where he has fresh legs and some other people don't, so he's looking more impressive than he actually is, but he has been looking impressive, so I do think I want to play him. And then Najee Harris as well. Najee Harris continues to like really just put together really solid film at the back end of the season. I've been impressed by his talent. We are seeing the Najee Harris that people drafted him in the first or late second or early second round of fantasy football drafts lately. It's a little bit too late for everyone, but it's nice to see him playing well. Okay, he gets a great matchup going against Cleveland. If his snap shares are going to be the same, and he didn't even play that much. He played 64% of the snaps. He still had 25 opportunities in that game. This is probably going to be an ugly game as well, a close game, which should mean that Najee is going to be getting the same amount of carries that he had been getting. So that would be very appealing to me, given the price tag of 6.1 as well. And this is weird. I mean, look at this starting point. Like, who are we going to pay up for? And that is going to be the question we need answered, really, on this slate, is who do we pay up for? And we might not know that until, Sunday morning when all the inactive reports come out and whatnot. Then I do just want to pull out one other running back. Zach Moss is a very intriguing play, obviously going against Houston, a team that we've been targeting a lot. I was really shocked at the ownership of Travis Etienne last week. I don't know about you guys, but that was a lot lower than I was expecting. But we look at Zach Moss, since JT's injuries, had 24, 12, 15 carries, which is all good. 7, 8, and 8 DK points. Obviously, we want more than that, but going against Houston, you could kind of hope that he gets a touchdown. You would kind of hope that this offense can finally get going. Sam Ehlinger is going to be the quarterback, which I see as a plus. I don't know what Jeff Saturday was doing, playing Nick Foles, Matt Ryan. That kind of makes me think that he was told to tank, honestly, because why wouldn't you want to play Sam Ehlinger? Just weird. No, Ehlinger gets a more difficult matchup. Zach Moss gets the easiest matchup on the slate. So if we're getting a guy playing, let's just say around 55% of the snaps, but getting 15 opportunities, should be able to take advantage of that. And at 5.2, like as it sits right now, I can't really find a better play. All right, so receiver-wise, this is kind of the pay-up spot for me. Like I mentioned with Justin Jefferson, really just, let's be honest. I know I'm a Packers fan, so I don't want this to sound biased, but that was a bad look for him. It's been a bad look for him the past 48 hours. I think that's all going to bounce back though next week against the Bears. I think he goes off, just destroys them like he did in week 5. 13 targets, 150 yards, 33 DK points. He's going to be highly motivated to play. Okay. I think that's the correct move. And obviously we have so much salary left over. We have to try to pay up for someone. I think that's going to be him. Now we just got to wait and see on some of this other stuff. The Bengals are playing right now as I'm recording this. We'll have to see how that game turns out. If the Bengals have something to play for, I think Jamar Chase would be a great play. But if not, guys, I might just end up paying down because a lot of Chris Godwin, who we've been playing a ton, just how much is he going to play? The Bucs really don't have any reason to really play their starters. Keenan Allen, just given how banged up the Chargers have been, kind of Keenan Allen's injury history, I don't know if they're going to really play him a lot. Just why risk it? So 2 of our cash cows are going to be out of the slate, I think. So maybe we'll go with someone like DK Metcalf, who gets a good matchup. Poor game last week, but the Seahawks, they should have something to play for, obviously. So I kind of expect DK Metcalf to go out and show out. Should be a very, solid play. DJ Moore, I don't mind as well. Been really productive lately and just playing a ton of snaps, playing about 90% of the snaps. I do think that's going to continue. Maybe it drops down to 75% of the snaps, but I do think that's still going to happen. Just really been going off lately. 4 out of his last 5 games have been over 18 DK points, and he really hasn't been price corrected. So that is something I like. Obviously, Sam Darnold's been a huge bump for him DFS-wise, and even last year, he was the reason why, sounds weird to say, but he was the reason why DJ Moore was such a good fantasy asset last year. Now we're seeing him be the same reason that he is again this year. So I don't mind DJ Moore. I'm not saying we have to play him because I think there's other players we can go with that are going to be a little bit better, like Garrett Wilson. If we love Mike White, then we have to love Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson played in 90% of the snaps as well. Still getting a ton of targets. The production hasn't been there lately. I think that's going to kind of correct for him. I just love his talent. This is a cheap price tag for a guy that's playing a lot of snaps, getting a lot of targets, and does get a good matchup going against Miami. From there, if we get news that DeAndre Hopkins is going to sit, then Marquise Brown is a great play. And then also, I would say Greg Dortch, still probably too cheap to pass up on at 3.8. He saw 10 targets. I mean, he played 81% of the snaps, saw 10 targets. Now, he only scored 5.5 DK points, but if you were telling me that we were going to get 10 targets and 80% of the snaps from Greg Dortch last week, I would have pressed the lock button on him, So that's a good sign of things for come this week, I would say. So the Niners defense has been pretty poor. I mean, they just let Jarrett Stidham go off against him. Cash play, Jarrett Stidham on FanDuel. I think Greg Dortch is going to be someone we're still trying to play again this week. And I do want to point out another value play that I am leaning towards playing. Tyquan Thornton. The New England Patriots just seem to love this kid. They played so many snaps, almost 90% of the snaps last week. Does get a more difficult matchup against the Buffalo Bills, but 7 targets, was able to score a touchdown. And then is that such a cheap price tag? This is kind of like playing Greg Dortch, although Greg Dortch was a much safer play. This is much more of an upside-based play where it wouldn't be shocking to see him have another similar game like last week. Tight end-wise, we do have a lot of great tight end plays. TJ Hawkinson continues to produce. Okay, he had a couple of bad drops last week, but still was able to put up double-digit DK points. And if he would have caught those bad drops, would have been a big night. So, I don't mind him. George Kittle, a fine play. Dallas Goedert, this is a very cheap price tag for him with Jalen Hurts probably back this week, so don't mind him. Tyler Higbee's been playing 90% of the snaps the last 2 weeks, and now gets a great matchup going against Seattle, the best matchup on the slate for opposing tight ends. I think it's going to be a safe play, and I think he could easily kind of break the slate like he did 2 weekends ago. Then we got Trey McBride played 90% of the snaps last week and was targeted heavily 10 times, had 7 receptions, 20 DK points. And, he's a play where if you just want to lock in some raw points, I'm fine with it. Like that works, guys. If you want to lock in 5 DK points or so and just play him at 3.3 as like my second favorite lowest price tight end, I'm good with that. But right now, as it sits, there is one tight end that's really catching my eye, and that's Colby Parkinson. So Will Dissly, we got to get news on that. I believe he's on the IR. Yeah, so Will Dissly is on the IR, so we don't have to worry about that. I was super shocked to see the snap share for the tight ends for Seattle. Noah Fant was at 62%. Parkinson was at 80. So it's no surprise that Parkinson had 7 targets and had the big day. So if that trend continues this week in a pretty good matchup, like Parkinson is a very kind of eye-catching tight end play. I like this play a lot as it sits right now. So as you can see, we have a lot of salary left over, guys. So it's really kind of difficult in the sense to like know where to pay up basically. And like defensively, like we don't know the situations for the teams just yet as I'm recording this before the week's finalized. So take a guess as to which like defense you want to be on as it sits right now. Like I honestly don't know. I wish I knew more. Maybe the Jets, I don't want to make the mistake of paying up for a defense. So maybe you hope that the Niners sit their starters and you go with Cardinals. Like I don't mind that. Maybe the Bills sit some of their starters and you get the Patriots. Like I don't mind that. And the Patriots D is good anyways. They probably won't go negative. So yeah, that's kind of a wait and see approach. So like for this specific build, I wouldn't mind paying up for quarterback. And honestly, like Jalen Hurts, I think he's expected to play, and they obviously are trying to play for that number 1 seed. So maybe just roll with him in that sense. And we still have way too much salary left over. So got to figure out what we're going to do there. And obviously, as the week progresses, we'll have more news. But that's all I have for you guys for this video. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully, you guys have had a great season. It's been a pretty fun one. And honestly, it's been much better than I really expected content-wise. It seems like every week giving out really great content and great picks for you guys. So hopefully, you guys have been able to take advantage of that. I know last week was a very awesome week in general. So let's continue that again for the final week of the NFL season. And just saying, guys, like this is typically like the big money week. I kind of mentioned that last week. It's where like preseason DFS, huge money, like time, probably the biggest edge there is in DFS nowadays. And then the last 2 weeks of the NFL season. So let's hope, fingers are crossed. All right. Thanks for watching. Let's have a good weekend as always. Let's keep cashing.